Greeting, everyone. Sorry for the delay. First order of business, we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Monday, September 23rd, Board of Selectmen, Highway and Cemetery Commissioners. Next up on the agenda is acceptance of minutes, the minutes of September 9th, 2019. What is the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we accept
Motion
the
made,
minutes of September 9th, 2019 regular meeting.
Second.
motion made and seconded to accept as presented. Any corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. I was not present, but I reviewed the minutes. Next up is executive session, Board of Selectmen, September 9th, 2019. Mr. Administrator, accept not to release.
We can go ahead and release these, I think,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
It can be released.
Yes.
It's the board's pleasure.
Chairman, I'm going to move that we accept and release the executive minutes of September 9th, 2019.
Motion made and
Second.
seconded to accept and release as presented. Any corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Again, I reviewed the minutes, not present. Next up, we have a joyous occasion. He's been coming to many of our meetings. He's been an active participant in the last year. I'd like to be the first one to officially welcome Al Salonis. If approved tonight, will be our student rep from Shepherd Hill. So before we have Al give a little spiel about himself, what's the board's pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept Al Salonis as a student representative for school year 2019 to 2020.
Motion made.
I'll second that as a student representative.
Yeah,
Yes.
I definitely prefer the second.
Sorry, Al.
Al, anything you'd like to add or introduce yourself before we take a vote?
I'm Al, everybody. I'm a senior this year at Shepherd Hill. I really like town government. It's really interesting, and I think that our youth need to get more involved into stuff like this. So, yeah, it's good stuff.
All right, I'm going to read a quick letter from Principal Chaplain up at Shepherd Hill. As I begin the new year, I would respectfully request consideration by the Town of Dudley Board of Selectmen to accept grade 12 student Albert Salonis as a non-voting student rep. Albert is looking forward to experiencing the rewards and challenges of municipal government. I'm sure this learning experience will be invaluable to Albert. He also put your phone number and your address, which I won't read out loud. Don't worry, you'll start getting calls. So the board will call to a vote. All in favor of the appointment of Al Salonis as our student rep, please state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. I like that.
Chairman, can we pick up on something Al just mentioned quickly? But we've talked about this in the past. I would like to have, I would like for the board to urge the superintendent to come up with at least 4 additional people that the town administrator and the other 4 selectmen, so that would be 5, that we could mentor in terms of getting youth involved in town government. And we could work out the details. But we talked about this a year and 2 years ago, and nothing ever happened. And we never talked to the superintendent. I'd like us to consider doing that.
Right, I mean, I know we talked at one time about other boards in town that may have students that may be interested in finance, for example, so we can certainly contact the school. I'd like to invite Al's family up for a picture, group photo, if you like, Al. Come around to the front, or how you like to do it. Would you like to stand, or go behind, kind of go behind Paul? Let me cut you off with the heavy hitters. All right.
I'll go around with my folks.
All right.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to be associated with this group.
No, we'll figure it out.
Oh, you're not in the way.
Huh?
No,
You're good.
we're here for you.
Although Al's blocking me, that's probably better.
At least Marcy's not here. You can see everybody.
All right, smile, everyone.
Everybody say, what have I done?
One more.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.
Somebody.
Congratulations,
He's a good man.
kid.
Yep. He's gonna be all right.
We'll send him home with some homework.
So I'll just give you a little bit of advice. Don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to offer your input. Please bring us a different perspective that some of us don't have. And one piece of advice, I make sure my student report is well edited, grammatically correct, because we have members of the board that will help you.
And anticipate
If there's a
wacky and
problem.
off-the-wall
course.
questions.
Of course.
And don't be afraid to put a sports thing there or two every now and again. Next up, Vincent Paletta, Highway Superintendent, is a vote to approve and sign a contract between the Town of Dudley and Vincent Paletta to the position of Dudley Highway Superintendent, term October 7, 2019 through November 10, 2020. Mr. Paletta Senior, would you like to come up? Just a quick,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for the opportunity to move up in the department, and this is the top of the ladder, so it was a good career. Still going.
well, yeah, not over yet now, wait a
Yeah,
minute.
it's still
I
going.
did say 2020.
Yeah, it's still going.
That's what I was going to say for the people at home. That's part of the executive session stuff we have been talking about. We've been in negotiations as a board with the administrator. We really wanted Vinnie to continue on, get us through, get us to the winter season, get us into the construction season next year, and it's going to work out well for all the parties. So I certainly appreciate Vinnie's 32 years of service.
Who's counting?
Yeah, who's counting?
Board,
By mutual agreement, Mr. Chairman, the contract is to extend his employment as a superintendent for a one-year period, is that correct?
slightly more than a year, but yeah, rough.
It's a contract effective October 7th, 2019 to November 10th, 2020.
13 months.
That was a mutually agreed upon date and time frame.
Correct.
So board entertain a motion to approve and execute the contract.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made second. Any questions, Mr. Johnson?
No.
He's good. Vinnie, anything you want to add?
You're worried about?
Pronunciation.
I call it to a vote. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Vinnie.
Okay,
Want to do the second one next?
well, let's sign this,
Oh, yeah.
and if you want to slip at the end of the table, Vinnie, and when it gets to you, you sign your portion of it, 3 copies.
3 originals.
And Vinnie, you're gonna have to initial every page.
So while we're doing this, the board will accept with regret the resignation of Vincent Paletta from the position of Highway Foreman and Acting Highway Superintendent effective October 7, 2019.
Yes. You want that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, probably should, just to codify it.
So moved.
Motion made.
Second.
Second. With regret, emphasized. All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous, Vinnie.
It's without regret, isn't it, Mr. Chairman?
Well, no regret for him.
Everybody's back.
So Vinnie, is your staffing such that you're all set? Is there anything else we have to do with the highway department?
No.
Okay. I know somebody would want to ask that question.
Yeah, I think we got you pretty much up to where your compliment's supposed to be, right?
Well, there's just a foreman's position to work on next, and that's still interim, too.
Right.
If he's gonna take off, then.
He needs his glasses.
You, Al. Oh, no, he's gonna, okay.
I've got to sign it.
John, is there a letter for the next one? To read or just?
Your resignation?
Thank you.
Oh, I do have a letter, but let's just acknowledge it, because it's,
And on a different note, the board will accept with regret the resignation.
it's not it.
The board will accept with resignation with regret Lisa Lamas,
Oh,
the
Lisa,
assistant,
okay, yeah.
the assistant treasurer collector, who is going to be leaving town employment. And Jonathan, you can get a letter on our behalf or the board's behalf,
I will do that, Mr. Chairman.
acknowledging her years of service. Public comments, citizen comments, informational, anybody wishing to be heard with something that's not on the agenda tonight that does not require a vote of the Board of Selectmen? Seeing none. Town Administrator Report, Mr. Ruda.
Coming right up.
Take your time.
Board members, good evening. I wanted to, you'll see on the agenda under item 11B, I'm going to ask the board if they would consider revisiting the vote to debt exclude the HVAC and roof project that we voted to approve at town meeting in May of 2018. After I've had a chance to speak to all the board members individually, I think there was a miscommunication when that vote was taken in April of this year, not to debt exclude that project. When we originally voted on this, you recall as a member of the board, and we put it forward on the town meeting warrant to be voted upon to borrow the money, it was understood it would be a debt excluded item. For some reason, when it came back up in April, it was voted no, and I think there was a complete lack of communication. The issue here is that we've been making interest-only payments on the loan and not touching the principal, which makes no sense. If we don't debt exclude it, then we're going to be paying from free cash. The first payment will be $165,000. So I'm going to urge the board to take another look at that and consider our obligations to the rest of the departments in town.
Mr. Joseph.
Is there any projection from you or the town accountant, town treasurer, as to what putting it as a debt exclusion rather than just paying out of free cash, which we should never do unless it's an emergency? Any idea how much money we'll save?
We'll save $19,000 a year in interest.
19 a year.
We're paying $19,000 a year in interest
Okay.
and not touching the principal right now.
Good enough for me.
The second item was the LED streetlight project. We never debt excluded that, and it was, I believe we spoke at some point during a meeting about recouping that amount of money through the energy savings that would be derived from it, so we went ahead and borrowed. We never debt excluded it. It's $200,000. That, I think, after doing some research and finding out what we have available for grants and incentives, I'd like to pay that off through free cash, because I think we can manage that over the course of the next 3 years easily. We have about $98,000 in incentives coming back.
Mr. Joseph.
What do we have to pay and how much we do back?
What do we have to pay in terms of,
Paying it off?
we have to pay $200,000.
Yep.
We spent the last 2 weeks, and we meaning Michelle and I, looking into what was available. We still have $47,000 that we didn't know we had available towards that project. We also have $14,000 in a Green Communities account available towards that project. And we anticipate another 40 and change coming back to us from National Grid after they've inspected the project and signed off on it.
And the completion date is scheduled for when, Mr. Chairman?
It's already done, I believe.
There's a few left that
Right,
we
yeah,
added
a
at the
couple
end,
outliers,
but
but,
we're largely completed.
right, generally speaking.
Why did we pass these to borrow and not include them as a debt exclusion in the first place?
I think everybody had that intention to do that when we originally voted on it.
But we didn't.
There was some lack of communication over the course of the months leading up to the vote in April, I think.
That's as diplomatic an answer as I could hear. Yes, thank you.
Could have,
So, I mean, between the two projects, we're looking at $650,000. There's no chance, having served on this board for 9 years, that we would have said, yeah, we'll cover it from free cash. There's no chance. So,
I think the simple answer would have been a majority of the board at the time voted against making it a debt exclusion question on the ballot.
right.
That's
It was
the
a-
simpler answer.
Mr. Chairman, if I remember correctly, it was 2-2, and it just languished.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think the full understanding as to what was going on was,
Okay, so now everybody's educated.
everybody's educated.
Okay.
Sorry, go on.
No, please.
No, I'm educated, I'm fine.
Well, I mean, I'm sure Mr. Root is
I
gonna,
don't think it was a lack of education, I think it was a miscommunication, period.
Right,
Plain
and-
and simple as to what it meant.
and I think if once we get exact hard numbers from the treasurer and with the administrator, I think there's gonna be a presentation at some point explaining the concept of maturing debt and new debt, which we will have both
Correct.
if this were to pass. The
Correct.
hope, with the hope that the maturing debt would exceed any new debt that we had, or close in value. We're not gonna put $2 on to save one, is what I'm getting at.
A lot of people don't understand that.
Right.
So I guess my question is, this will come up at the spring town meeting, not the fall town meeting?
This is going to be voted to be placed on the ballot by the selectmen under 11B tonight for this spring ballot. It's not a town meeting.
Oh, okay.
It's already
Right,
passed
so-
at the town meeting to borrow the money.
Is it fair then to assume, Mr. Chairman, that the treasurer will produce a document, whether it's online or at the polls, for people to understand or have it explained to them, the difference between the two?
I would certainly think that's reasonable.
Everything's already in the works in terms of
Great
publicizing.
minds. Okay.
Next, community outreach. Oh, we should have shook your hand, Vinnie, sorry.
Okay, Vinnie, thanks.
So quiet, we forgot you were there. Congratulations.
Tried to hint over, say, I think Vinnie's
going
great.
to talk about the,
I figured just sit there till the end.
yours, yep. I just have to sign that one thing. Sorry about this brief delay here.
Game show music.
Here we go.
Steve, is there anything else from town administrator?
Yeah, he's gonna do that.
Vinnie's copy. I'll sign, make sure you sign the rest of these.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the capital improvement one, and the meetings, it's on the second page.
Mr. Chairman, we have a community outreach meeting scheduled for October 1st in this room at 6:30 for the adult use marijuana facility. As you recall, this meeting is required by the vendor to sponsor. They pay for the advertising and anything else they want to bring to the meeting. They're required to pay for that and to sponsor and give residents from us, the host community, the ability to attend, to learn about the proposed project, and to provide feedback, input, and pose questions. Once again, this is entirely hosted under the law by DMA Incorporated, the people who propose to put the facility in. And this meeting is not posted as a committee or board meeting of the town, so no decisions or deliberation about the project by any board or committee should take place. However, questions and input from individual board members is strongly encouraged in advance of posted meeting sessions where board and committee functions are required to be more focused and deliberative. So October 1st, the host community meeting will be here in this room at 6:30.
Right, now, so, Jonathan, that's a requirement under the law, but someone has to run the meeting, per se. It's not the Board of Selectmen, would they work through you on that?
I'll facilitate it.
Right. I mean, it's not like they're gonna
Board's
be up here by,
behalf, yeah.
yeah, they're not gonna be up here by themselves getting,
I would propose
Pepid.
that they use that table here and this remains empty,
right,
or the podium.
and you'll be
We'll just leave this empty.
moderating on behalf of the town to keep the
Sure.
meeting flowing and
Yep.
cordial. Perfect.
Good idea.
So our CIP programming grant is coming to an end. It's going to be presented to a joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Capital Improvement Committee here on October 7th. We've asked the Capital Improvement Committee to come in, and we're going to, I think we also asked members of the FAA, didn't we? So the purpose of this plan is to provide a town-wide capital improvement plan as opposed to department by department, a 10-year plan as to what we can anticipate our needs will be on a townwide basis. It gives us a chance to prioritize it, to plan for it, and to budget it. It's a living document, and every year, we'll go back and we'll modify and change those priorities and add to them as those needs arise. Did we get a response on volunteer requests today, Michelle?
Yes, we did.
Yeah. So I've asked, Mr. Joseph brought to my attention that Mr. Breyer brought to his attention that there were a lot of volunteer requests that had not been responded to. So I've included a spreadsheet in your packets outlining what volunteers' requests had not been responded to. The reason they hadn't been responded to is because we didn't get them. We had no way to even know they were there. So I think that we've gone to work with our MIS director to figure out how we can provide a more timely response to some of these people who are interested in helping out the community. I've outlined in red those that were 2 years old or more that I haven't taken any action on, because after 2 years, I'm quite certain that we'd either look absolutely beyond ridiculous or the people are no longer interested. But I referred the other people who are interested in volunteering to the appropriate department heads. So I thank Mr. Joseph for bringing that to my attention.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Ruda, how can we avoid getting a backlog of these in the future?
We can find a way to actually get them delivered to our office. I don't know who was receiving these requests, but
I think it's online. I may be,
it is online.
but I think that the interest is online. And is it just a question of to whom do we give access to those requests so that
Or to whom
these
are they
people don't
forwarded to?
backlog?
They certainly weren't forwarded to Michelle or the town administrator.
I'm not trying to blame.
No,
But I'm just asking, how do we avoid this in the future?
we just fixed the problem, and we have them forwarded right to Michelle, and then we'll distribute them appropriately.
All right,
We had somebody interested in being a call volunteer firefighter. We had people interested in serving on the FAA. So we have to, when we receive them, we'll distribute those appropriately.
Here's the problem in what I heard, and that is to have them forwarded to Michelle. By whom? By John? Because if that's the case, we don't want an intermediary just to pass that stuff on.
When I say forwarded, I mean it should be automatically electronically forwarded to Michelle.
And, okay, and how do we do that?
We're working on that.
Okay. That was the answer I was looking for. Thank you.
I may actually have the answer to that already, but I'll let you
Okay.
know. And then finally, Mr. Joseph asked a few meetings ago for me to compile a list of all town-owned properties and to look at each piece of property, speak to the people who may know more about the property, and offer a few brief comments, which I've done on this enclosed spreadsheet. I can forward the original, the electronic copies to the members of the board because they're color-coded. They're color-coded red, meaning absolutely out of the question, we're not gonna sell a cemetery, and different keys to show different potential uses. So,
Okay, so,
this having been compiled and done, I'd kinda like some direction from the board as to which direction you'd like me to do, how we're gonna pursue this, what action you want me to take.
My first question, listed on here is land that is held by Dudley Conservation Land Trust. That's not a town entity, right? Is that just on there to show what they have? Page 2 at the bottom is about 12 to 14.
page 1 or page 2?
Page 2. Goes on to page 3, there's probably about,
They're considered, I mean, they essentially, it's considered town-owned land, and they essentially manage it under a conservation trust for us.
And there's no taxes paid on that?
no.
No.
But I thought they were a separate entity, they have their own, what is it, 50, not, what's the tax filing designation, 20,
20,
I forget. But I thought they were a separate entity.
it's land held in trust.
Right, but not by us. So we have no control over it.
No, we don't have control over it.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
We have control to the point where we could agree to deals to extend it, expand it, trade it with their blessing and approval. But we can't sell it out from underneath them, no.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Joseph.
number one, I'd like to have 2 weeks to study this. But I would ask that the Land Conservation Trust property not be listed
Okay?
on this because the town does not have the authority to do with it as we can with other properties.
Okay. No
Now,
problem.
the Dudley Housing Authority, is that town-owned?
That I would have to legally find out for you, Mr. Joseph.
Okay, because if it's not, Mr. Chairman, I would ask the same thing, that housing authority property be removed. All right? Now, if we can go back just for a second, and I'm very grateful for this being put together, but there appear to be several different densities of darkness.
Yeah, you really need the electronic version, Mr. Joseph.
Okay, so the real light one, what color is that on the original?
You mean not the white one? Like the light
Not the
gray?
white, but the light colored.
Light gray?
Yeah, start on page 1, you'll see it.
That was I need to look further into that before I made a recommendation on it. Color.
All
White,
right.
I'm sure that was white.
All right, that might be like a yellow or a light green or something, I don't
Are you
know.
talking about the first one, Baker Pond Road?
No, it's 1448, about a third of the way down.
Yeah, without, it could be light yellow, it could be white, I can't tell without.
Okay,
Could be
then,
light gray.
Yeah.
right after Baker Pond Road is an in-between darkness. Below that 5 entities is a much darker one. So, you color-coded these, and what do the colors mean?
I'll provide that to you when I send it to you.
Okay,
But if you look over in the notes in the potential use and sale, it kind of gives you an indication as to,
yeah, I did scan a few of them that I could read easily. All right, so I'm really grateful for this.
Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Chairman, I'd appreciate if we don't remove any items from this list. You can simply create another tab in the file and then start discussing what Mr. Joseph wants, which is the ones we're concerned about. So I think you need a full list to start, and then a second list that would have just
I'll
items
just,
that we're interested in.
I'll create another sheet and we'll just have it, like you said.
That's fine.
That'll be fine.
I just don't think we should list anything for potential sale, use, or conveyance in any way, property that we don't have control over.
So,
That's all I'm suggesting.
And
Mr. Chairman, just so I'm clear, that means that I'll be removing cemeteries. We're not gonna sell the highway barn, I don't think, town hall, that kind of thing. I'll remove all that and place it on its own tab.
No, if it's town-owned,
Yeah.
leave it on there.
Not after you complained about the roof.
the roof's fine now. We're gonna pay for it, that's all.
Should be fine now.
Better be fine.
This is a great master copy of town-owned property.
Right. I mean, I know the intent is to come up with a potential workable list on things we can declare surplus and raise funds. But like I said, my biggest, as a quick look, was that Dudley Conservation Land Trust. They're not a town entity. I know they hold it in a trust, but they don't report to us. They
I agree.
march to the beat of their own drum, and they do a great job. I mean, they've done a lot. But yeah, so if we can just touch it up a little bit, and when everyone gets the copy online, the colors will be very apropos to what they designate.
Do we have a color copier?
We do, but it wouldn't accept the
The size?
paper.
Okay.
What's his name from Biz? Was it Mr. Patel that came in? He could probably make us
He
colors.
said he could put ink on anything.
He could put ink on anything.
Okay.
All right, Any questions for the town administrator on his report?
I got a few more things, like just last-minute things, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So I'm trying to, just to put these dates in the board's, the back of your minds, Tuesday, the 15th, October 15th, Wednesday, the 16th, or Thursday, the 17th, I got to plan a joint FAA Board of Selectmen meeting to go over the town warrant articles and the budget, the supplemental budget.
We're
So
gonna do
the
that on one of our regularly scheduled meetings?
15th, the 16th, or the 17th. We can't fit it in because we have too many things scheduled for, like the meeting before that, we have October,
Yeah, October 7th, that would be the CIP, the capital.
it's the CIP meeting.
Municipal resources, yeah.
So this would be a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. I think we need to just dedicate one meeting to it, otherwise we'll be here till midnight. There's a lot of things we need to go over for the
I
supplement.
know there's a lot going on, I appreciate that.
Well,
And-
you looking for a vote right now? You just want to get a,
No, I just want to put those dates in your head, and maybe in a week or so, you can kind of see what works out. The 15th seems to be a good day for the other committees, but
Could I ask the question, Mr. Chairman?
good?
A straw poll, would it be easier for the board members to do it on the night of one of our meetings or on a different night?
Well, I just worry that the agendas are looking pretty full at that far out, right? It's gonna make a long night, that's all.
The 7th is the big one. 14th is Columbus Day,
right.
and I think the 21st would be too late.
Yeah,
If I'm,
It is
if
too late.
I'm,
Yeah, we're pushing
Thinking
it
right.
at that point.
so he's looking, instead of Columbus Day, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday of that week.
Okay.
All right, just something to kind of put in your mental calendar and hopefully get consensus.
That's all right.
And then finally, Mr. Chairman, over the weekend, I think there was an article in the TNG that talked about another town's website being hacked.
Yeah.
And there was some security issues with private data potentially being released. So I spoke with Mr. Breyer and our MIS director just to figure out what kind of a risk we were at. And there's no sharing of data, personal data or financial data on our website. That's all internal to the network. The network and the website don't touch each other. The only things that, if our website were ever hacked, they wouldn't get a hold of personal information. They get a hold of publicly available information. We back it up every night. We could simply reset our website, hopefully, and we'd be back in business. But there's no sensitive information offered through our website that could be hacked into.
Right, so you're saying there's no interfacing at all, it's all
There's no,
separate?
it's, the network is isolated from the website.
Perfect. Mr. Joseph?
My only two concerns, only two. First concern, the person who would have data that a hacker would want would be the treasurer's office.
Correct.
And the second thing is, are we taking any precautions or do we have any guarantees regarding our voter information?
Our voter information is not available through the website. I'm speaking specifically to the website.
So if one wanted to hack it, is that impossible or unlikely?
Through the website, it wouldn't, well, as soon as I say it's impossible, somebody will figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
But the website is absolutely isolated from the network, meaning that if they took control of the website and hacked into it, they could not get into the network.
Okay.
Which was the case with this other town. It was the website itself that was hacked.
I know
the
it's more
webpage.
complicated
Yeah.
than just a simple question.
But this is not the end of the discussion either, so
Yeah.
I'm on that.
Mr. Sigenovich?
Does anyone have remote access to that information? I know you said it's not hooked up to the website, but can the treasurer, accountant, whoever, access that information remotely? For instance, can they work from home and pull things up from home?
Well, some data they can. For example, I have a VPN that gets into the network, but it doesn't get me into the voter registration system. That's separate. The accounting software is separate. It's not something I can get through my VPN to get into the network. It's a completely separate.
And that's all secure, that's, like you said, it's different, but, geez, I don't want to say too much and give anybody
You know,
any ideas.
Kerry, you're on the right track. Let's
Yeah.
ask, let's ask the
I
question
know, I
directly.
just don't want to give anyone,
Can the town clerk have access to voter registration information via a home computer? And can the town treasurer have access to financial information on individuals via his own computer?
and add the accountant to that, too.
Who?
The accountant.
And the accountant,
The answer right now is no.
okay?
Good. Good.
Okay.
We good?
We're good.
Any more questions for the administrator? Accept his report as presented for the record. Next up, we have Around Town, focus on local business. No one tonight. License and permits, one-day all alcohol license, J&S Blues, DBA Cindy's Pub, 6 Chase Ave, Dudley, Mass. On Saturday, October 5th, 2019, 1 to 5, located outside for a cornhole tournament to benefit the Thompson Little League. Sherry presenting on behalf of Cindy's.
They're going to vote on it.
Yeah. I know this is kind of an annual event you guys have started.
Yeah, I do like the fundraising for Thompson Little League, and we tried it, I got the outdoor permit about a month and a half ago. Just seeing how it went pretty good. I plan on getting some of those same people, but then maybe some people from, that participate, their kids are in Thompson Little League. So we're gonna do another one, but this time at least, it's a fundraiser. And I will, get with the chief to, stop in to get that police detail from 1 to 5.
Any questions for Sherry? Mr. Johnson?
Sounds like it's all the same questions we asked last time.
Yeah, I mean, last time, Mr. Joseph suggested that we get the police detail, so I, did put that on the schedule. So I'll do that again.
Chief?
Sounds like they've taken the precautions they need to. Chief?
So, since, when do we meet again? We won't meet again before this, right? How about, how do you want the vote to be phrased upon, police, conditional approval upon getting, response from the police chief saying public safety's covered, they have the permission?
Well, she's indicated that they're gonna do it again, get the detail. The chief is okay with it, so I don't think it's contingent at this point.
It's our
Could
liquor
be wrong.
license.
I'm just saying.
I think it's a thumbs up.
If something were to come up, I just didn't want to know if you want to have a fail-safe.
I mean, no offense, but it is what it is. You want to do it, great.
Yeah.
So the chair will entertain a request to grant a license on the above-mentioned date and time and location.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we grant J&S Blue Incorporated, DBA Cindy's Pub, 6 Chase Ave, Dudley, Mass., a one-day all alcohol liquor license on Saturday, October 5th, 2019, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., located outside for a cornhole tournament to benefit Thompson Little League.
Motion made
Second?
and seconded. Any further questions or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Good luck, Sherry.
All right, thank you very much.
Make some money.
I guess I wasn't able to make it.
Next up, we have Nichols College. One-day entertainment license, a change of date, Saturday, October 26th, 2019, from 7 to 10:30. Outdoor movie night, canceled, previously approved but canceled from September 4th, 2019. Lynn Luby presenting. Good evening, Lynn.
One thing, there's a second change of date. I called Michelle this morning. There were several events scheduled for October 26th, so the request is for Thursday, October 17th. And this is a rain date from the initial date of September 4th. The event will, all parameters stay the same. It's from 7 to 10:30 PM, and it's on the guest house lawn at
So-
the campus.
It's not the 26th, it's the 17th?
No, it's October 17th. So Michelle was able to change the new permit that you're going to sign, but she couldn't change the agenda, so.
Okay. Change is noted. Any questions for the applicant?
This is on B?
A, B, yes.
Yes.
No, I'm okay.
Chair will entertain a motion to grant the request for a one-day entertainment license, change of date to Thursday, October 17th, 2019, from 7 to 10:30, outdoor movie night from a rain date of 9/4/19.
Can I try this one again?
Yeah, you're gonna say it right?
I'd like to make a motion to grant a one-day outdoor entertainment license to Nichols College. Change of date of Thursday, October 17th, 2019, from 7 to 10:30 PM for outdoor movie night.
Motion
Second.
made and seconded. Any further questions for the applicant? Chief, you're aware of it, right? All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Nichols College, permission to use Center Road on Saturday, September 28, 2019 for homecoming, beginning at noon for the Bison Float Parade, which begins in the parking lot I behind the church and ends at parking lot N across from the Athletic Center entrance. Police detail present. Is that an all-day event? Lynn, for the parking, 'cause it only says one.
No, there are, it's a first time we're trying this event, and what we're trying to do is get current students involved in homecoming, as well as the alumni coming in. So we decided this year we'd try an event for the current students, and we have 8 student organizations who have signed up. They will be decorating a vehicle, and we have asked the alumni to watch the parade and to vote on the vehicle, and then there'll be a prize given for whoever gets the most votes. They start behind the church, they go down Center Road towards 131, and they take a right just across from the athletic center. There's a parking lot back there, Lot N, so they never have to cross the street. There's only 8 vehicles. We're figuring maybe 10, 15 minutes. There's already a detail working there because it is our homecoming weekend. And so it's just something that we're trying this year to see how it goes and whether we'll expand it or disband it because it wasn't exactly what we thought it would be for a turnout.
I'm so glad she explained that, because I had my doubts about whether or not a bison could float. You know?
Well. so make
There
it
will be
like a
some
joke book.
balloons lining the street, but they will be on the right-hand side of the street, more so on the other side of the sidewalk, so they won't be in any car's way that's going by. I do know that Chief Wayner met with Public Safety Director Caulfield and Beth Gianfrido, our Director of Student Involvement, and he encouraged that I just let you know that this is going on and will be 10 or 15 minutes where the road will be, there'll be floats on the road.
Any questions for the applicant? Mr. Siganovich?
Are there any property, I'm trying to picture specifics in that patch.
Yep.
Where it starts and ends.
Yep.
Are there any homeowners in that range, or is that all Nichols?
One,
One.
One.
Yep.
There is one?
You're gonna
on the
go,
opposite side of the street.
Opposite side of the street,
Right.
yeah,
Okay, so then there'll be no, okay, that's all I wanted to make sure.
correct.
Chief, good with it? Hearing no further questions, Chair will entertain a motion to grant permission for Nichols to use Center Road Saturday, September 28, 2019, beginning at noon for the float parade, beginning at parking lot I, behind the church, ending at parking lot N. Detail will be present for a time frame of roughly 15 minutes to a half an hour.
So moved.
Motion is made
Second.
and seconded. Any further questions or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor, state aye.
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 Unanimous.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Joseph?
before we let Lynn leave, we recently saw a copy of the letter that Nichols sends out. And I was surprised at two things. One is, we had previously agreed that the letter that goes out to abutters would invite them to an event.
Mm-hmm,
The invitation was not there.
okay.
And the second implication, not implication, but the second indication was that if they wanted information on future events,
Mhm.
they could go to the website. And that was not part of what had been discussed a while back, Lynn, which was that the abutters would be notified in each case. So those are two things that I know you'll address. The other thing is that we've had complaints from abutters, specifically folks on Hall Road. And I want you to know, in an effort to be transparent, that I asked the town administrator if, on those events that we know that there'll be outside contemporary music played,
Mhm.
that we have someone with a decibel, like the Board of Health has one, with a decibel meter at the folks' house to see what the decibel reading is. And that may be done at the beginning, the end, or at more than one time during a particular scheduled performance, because we've got to be able to respond to these people's concerns. And I
Sure.
know you want to.
Sure.
So just so you'll know, that's one of the things that we've asked to have done.
And can I ask which road is Hall Road? Sorry.
Hall Road is, when you come out by Nichols, and the baseball field is on the right,
Yeah,
That's what I'm
and
asking.
the airport road goes left.
yeah.
Then you've got, I think it's Dudley Oxford Road, Dudley, what is it? Dudley Hill Road, and then the veer to the right, which would come out at the courthouse, that's Hall Road.
Okay. Okay. I do know if the event is open to the public, it would say that the public is invited. Many of the events we do are just student-run events, so, and as far as future events in the website, we do want to, we now have an event coordination system in place where it automatically dumps things into our website calendar. So we're just trying to let the abutters know that if there's something coming up, that they just want to see if they might be invited to it, not necessarily an outdoor event. It could be, you know, a guest lecturer coming in or something. We're trying to let them know that that calendar exists for them to look at. We will always do an abutter letter for any
Perfect.
of the
Yeah,
outside
that
permits.
answers my question.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Mr. Sigenovich.
Mr. Joseph, the noise meter. What's
Say again?
that? The noise meter, first time I've heard of this, I was just,
I asked Jonathan if we could have someone, if we could have the Board of Health, who has a decibel meter reading, if he would talk with them to see if they're available during the night of an outdoor rock music, just to check the decibel level at the complainant's address.
what are we looking for how many decibels?
I don't know, we'll find out from the Board of Health agent.
I'm just nervous if we start going that road, we'd have to apply that equally other places. Will we be doing that for
Band practice.
band practice? Because that's something we've gotten complaints about.
Bagpiper.
Construction, you name it. I just want to be careful before we go down the road where we've got people showing up with decibel meters. I kind of would want to know specifically what are we looking for and where does it begin and end? I just don't want to, and I get it, I mean, people shouldn't have 120 decibels inside their living rooms for anything, I get it. I just want to be careful when we're going down the road, that's all.
And that's a healthy caution. And I would not want to accept or encourage any decibel meter readings from private citizens. I'd want to have it substantiated by a town office. In this particular case, this is, I think, the third complaint we've gotten from these folks about the noise level for outdoor entertainment. I think one was in the summer about band practices, some kind of camp that you were running. And indeed, that was voluntarily reorganized so as not to be an issue for any neighbors. In this particular case, they really can't move a rock concert with outdoor amplification. And that's the only time that I'm interested in, and I don't think it'll take more than one reading, and we're being responsive to our residents.
Mr. Johnson?
Does it make sense to defer to the discussion with the Board of Health before we make a decision?
Well, yeah, I mean, if they're gonna, this is the first I heard of it also, if they're going to be out there with a decibel reader, I agree with Kerry, we just need to find out, before we go down the slippery slope, we need to have some kind of dialogue with them as to what they're looking for, what's considered nuisance, what's considered,
We certainly can get that information ahead of time from Tom Purcell as to what's generally or universally accepted decibel level.
right, because I also want to be clear, and I'm not,
I'm sure you'll know that.
and you're good, Jay?
And
Yeah.
would you use this information to create guidelines for us to follow, or
No,
how would you?
you know what? No, it's not that complicated.
Okay,
I just want to be able to give these people an answer from the Board of Health saying, this is within normal ranges, and this is not, because we don't have a noise policy right now that's completed, except for morning noise, construction and machinery, et cetera. Can't stop beyond a certain time. But we don't have any issue regarding noise beyond a reasonable hour in the evening.
And I'm not taking offense at the person who wrote the email, that this is not meant as a criticism. It was listed in the article, in the email. There was a statement made that the much-needed noise ordinance has been pushed under the table. I'm not taking offense at the language. The noise ordinance was not pushed under any table. The noise ordinance was brought forward by the Board of Selectmen and was defeated at town meeting.
I agree with you.
And we had, I thought, a well-thought-out, fairly comprehensive bylaw that we could have had framework we could have put into effect. And it's no reflection, again, on the email writers, no reflection on the people that listen to the Shepherd Hill Band banging away when they're practicing. It goes back to participation, as Al put it very eloquently when we appointed him. We have 52 to 68, 70 people that show up for town meetings that kind of set the dial, set the compass for the rest of the year. And if there's 41 out of 80 that don't like what's presented,
That's right.
the other 6,000 voters suffer. And then they come back and say,
Hey,
you didn't do anything for us, or the highway didn't do anything for, fire, you didn't do anything for us. Well, we tried, and it was defeated. And I would encourage, we talked about volunteerism.
Yep.
I would encourage anybody that, Mr. Joseph, like with his agricultural commission, anybody that wants to get involved with something like that, come to the selectmen. They can, or meet the Board of Health, and they can find out, as Lynn said, we're not putting guidelines in just for Nichols. As Kerry stated, where does it end? I mean,
Yeah, and,
knowledge is power, and you need to know what's going on.
yeah,
Yeah, you're saying.
and that's why, Mr. Chairman, I'd like, before we did anything, if we could have whoever the person is with the decibel meter, have them before us.
Next
We
one.
all make a decision together, because this isn't going to affect just Nichols. This is going to affect other places. And I mean, my other half is a hearing professional, and I know what the decibel readings are in my backyard. And not from Nichols, from something else. And I don't want to see, this is a balancing act. This is like a teeter-totter. We got to find a good balance between Nichols being able to have what they have and the people nearby being able to live with it. Chances are not everyone's going to be happy, but we've got to find something in the middle. And I'd rather us be cautious, do this together, and away we go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, I think both sides, town and gown, have come a long way. to getting consensus on some of these events. You know, they've moved locations, they've changed setups to try to change the way the noise flows, and I think it's an extension of it. I'm not saying it's not a bad idea or a good idea, but I think we just need a little bit more information, because I'm not a audiologist, and X number of decibels might be offensive to one person, it's not offensive to me.
Let me make this clear. We all get requests or complaints from constituents. Our job is to reasonably address those. So I make no apology for suggesting to the town administrator that we get an actual decibel reading to see if this is a warranted complaint or not. I did it this time. I have no qualms about doing it, and I would do it again in the future. Just as we all do, and I want to make that perfectly clear. All right? I'm not doing anybody a favor. I want to solve a problem, and I want to determine if there is no problem, and if so, I want to tell my constituent that.
Good. Let's solve the problem together, is all I'm saying.
Oh, and
And let's make it so it applies to everyone.
right, and no apology is necessary, it's just, I want to make sure we just have, like you said, the framework, and if Paul agrees, in place where we move forward. Mr. Johnson?
I just want to be sure that the proper enforcement vehicle is used for these investigations.
Yep.
That might not be us.
I'm with you.
You good?
Could be the EPA, you never know. Who knows?
You good, Lynn?
Thank you.
I think we're done, thank you. Next up on the, oh, wait a minute. Oh, that's for later, Jonathan? Second question, all right.
Yep.
Next up, Water Sewer Commissioners come up to request new position with an S in parentheses. Is it position or positions?
What happened to Tom Purcell?
Well, that was, I asked him to come in to avoid that entire that discussion we just had, the proper enforcement vehicle with the decibel reader, but my suggestion would be that we table it again, see if we can get him in next time.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask that we do that as a matter of record.
Yeah, sorry, I just kind of glossed it over because he
Yeah,
wasn't
10A.
here. Pass over 10A, which is to have Tom Purcell, the Board of Health agent, and ask him to try to come in for the next meeting. I apologize, I kind of just let that one go because Gentlemen, good evening.
Yes, we weren't asking for new positions. We're asking to, basically to reclassify our existing positions to come more into compliance with Department of DEP requirements and guidelines. Bob has more.
Can you
more
introduce,
information.
Scott? We
What's
know
that?
who you are, but can you introduce Bob?
Okay. I'm Scott Sikowski, Chairman of the Water and Sewer Commission. Bob Sullivan, he's also on the Water Sewer Commission.
The newest elected commissioner, so.
Who's the guy on the end?
That's,
And George, the interim superintendent. So, we looked through some of this. I'm familiar with drinking water and wastewater regulations, so just in speaking with George and some of the operators, the titles for the positions, they don't meet the state requirements for 310 CMR 22, the drinking water standards. In there, you know, in the standards, it states that do you have copies for them? I don't know how many copies you made here. It's just
We're not dealing with this water sewer superintendent right now.
no.
Yeah, I just skipped those.
So what is the position that we're,
I don't know, this is the first, we got the handout tonight, so I haven't had a chance to review it.
So just a quick overview, just to,
I'll just put this in context, Mr. Chairman. So, you asked first about the water sewer superintendent position. We had a, well, we have an acting water sewer superintendent right now. I think the water and sewer commissioners want to deal with the acting water and sewer superintendent before they ask us to take any action on it. So this is just advisory as to, I think, am I correct? Just to see what path you're going down and to let you know that, just like we did with the highway superintendent, we may be coming up to the same situation with the water and sewer superintendent.
So are these handouts together, or are they separate? We've talked about two
Separate.
separate issues.
Okay.
correct, separate issues.
So which one are we
And then
dealing with, this one?
And then the genesis beyond this was now we had a acting sewer superintendent, correct? Or he's an
Acting what?
an acting sewer superintendent?
No, he was an
No,
acting
that-
Not superintendent, plant,
assistant
Right,
plant operator. was
assistant
an
plant
acting-
operator that was looking for additional pay for additional responsibilities. And as we spoke about it, meaning me and George and Mr. Sullivan, we spoke more and more about it. There are a lot of positions within the water and sewer departments that they're indicating need to be upgraded or reclassified, correct? Or changed. So rather than to piecemeal it, I thought that, given the fact that the Board of Selectmen are the bargaining authority under the CBA, we come up with a plan. We get both the water and sewer commissioners and the Board of Selectmen on the same page, and then we bargain the changes within the union. It's not up to me to do it piecemeal on the MOAs. I think if it's gonna be that much of a structural change, this is the opportunity, and this is the forum to discuss it. So that's where we are right now.
All right.
All right, so my first question, and this is no offense at anybody. George is the interim, right? He's still currently a union member? So is he acting, he still pays dues, he's considered a union member. Is he acting on the behalf of the union when it comes to reclassifying union jobs? Or is he acting as your agent, as the interim superintendent, knowing that it could impact his position if he was not the full-time superintendent? You see where I'm getting at?
The Board of Water Sewer Commissioners are looking to reclassify the position.
Which one?
The positions.
The position, basically all the positions, because if you look at the handout that he gave you, under 310 CMR 2211B, it says, operations, each supplier of water shall ensure that its public water system is operated at all times by a primary and secondary operator. So you don't have those titles or classifications in the current job scale.
So what kind of, I don't want to interrupt, but I don't want to go down and come back with questions. What determines a primary and secondary operator, and what do we have currently?
So currently in your list, they're listed as an assistant plant operator, a maintenance/HEO, and a laborer. So those titles don't meet the requirements under the regulation. Under the regulation, there's specific titles, which are the primary operator and the secondary operator. And those specific titles come with liability. So as a primary operator, they're liable for operating the water system correctly within the state regulations to meet all the drinking water
So
standards.
before I call in Jay, so does the change in the designation of primary and secondary, does that require more license that the people currently have?
They-
So, for
Not
example,
necessarily more than they currently have. It doesn't actually spell out what licenses they require under the contract. So we would need to spell out that they are required to have the level of what's required under the regulations. So the primary operator is required to have a license equivalent to what the grade of the plant is. So you have a treatment operator and a distribution operator. The treatment, they classify, you have to have a 1T license to operate this system. And for the distribution, it's a 2D, or a D2. So there's 4 levels on each. There's 1 through 4 treatment, and there's 1 through 4 distribution. So one person can hold both licenses, but you're required to have a primary operator which holds the equivalent of whatever the town system is, has been classified through the requirements of the regulation.
All right, so, one more, Jay, sorry.
That's okay. I think this is answering some of the questions.
Are our operators currently licensed at the accepted level of the state?
Currently licensed, correct, but they don't have the correct title to meet the regulation to put the liability on them as it should be.
So, I guess the question's gonna probably be answered at some point.
I got a bunch.
I'm only in the I'm only in the second sentence. If they're licensed properly but with the wrong title, why would we, when you say reclassify, I'll be honest, when you say reclassify, I hear
It's
more,
different.
I hear more money. But if they're licensed properly with the wrong title,
Title,
and
that was more what I was saying, is the titles need to be corrected.
it's not spelled out in the CBA what license, because I know, for example, virtually everybody has transferred from highway to water. George predates me, he's probably the only one. But all the times I've been here, the guys go over with no license, and they're allowed to have a certain time frame to implement, get the license, require the license that the town pays them to get, town pays them to have it, town pays them to renew it. So, unless I'm going down the wrong path, and I apologize, it sounds like to me it's a titling issue, right?
A titling issue, but there's also a problem with your process of allowing someone to come over unlicensed and getting them licensed as to the fact that the
That's a
state
separate issue.
requires them to have the license. So the top two positions, the primary operator and the secondary operator, have to have the license. You can't come in and operate the system without a license.
Which I hope
mean,
nobody has done, by the way, when they
you're-
transfer. Hopefully the people in place have
you're-
handled it.
I mean, you have these people that are responsible for making sure the water that they supply to all the residents is potable, suitable to drink. You know, if they don't have those licenses, you could end up with a Flint, Michigan, where they don't understand what they're doing and providing water that's not suitable to drink. People can get sick, people can die. So they need to have the training and go through the process of getting certified in order to have the knowledge to be able to provide safe drinking water to everyone.
Yeah, I know, I'm kind of hogging it, I'm sorry. I'm not saying we don't have people in place when a new person comes in, but I just know that historically they've gone in and been trained and got the license, because the people in place, we have always been, we assume, have been told they've had active valid licenses. I know there was an issue in the past with some licenses lapsed that were corrected through previous incarnation of Water Sewer Commission. I think you were on the board then, Scott. So we're not talking about transfers in right now, we're talking about existing positions
Correct.
that just need, paraphrasing, need to be retitled.
Correct.
Jay?
I just wanted to get us back to the point of discussion. Is that what we're, are you looking for us to provide guidance? I have to ask town administrator, is this something we create a motion for, or?
Well, eventually, because it's a change in job titles that don't currently exist within the CBA, and the collective bargaining group is the Board of Selectmen, I thought this was a natural forum for them to start making a presentation as to what they want to do, what it's going to cost, why they need to do it that way, and what's required under the law, so. I mean, I don't think anybody here is going to affix their signature to something that is just random.
As it stands right now, there are 3 employees in the water department.
Mr. Chairman, before we go on,
Right.
all respectfully, I don't think that's the issue. Are you proposing to violate the collective bargaining agreement?
We don't want to violate the collective bargaining.
So the answer is no?
No.
Okay. So if they're not proposing to violate the collective bargaining agreement, and if the issue is titles and not changes in job descriptions, then I don't think, because they're an elected board, I don't think they need to be here.
Well, I think they do, because we administer the contract, and if they're gonna Paul, you collective bargain your whole career. If you
Yeah.
create new positions that don't exist in a currently collective bargaining agreement, you can't bypass the,
You're getting to where I want to go, and that's why I want to let poor Jay go first, all right?
Opposed to Rich Jay.
This is simple. You should not be here tonight. You should be presenting to us a chart. Here is the current job titles. Here's what we want to change them to. If you are proposing any change in compensation, as Sully brought up, that needs to be included in what you bring to us. But it's premature for them to come now. This is a document that we should have in front of us. It's a simple A and B chart. And that would be the solution. And then we could take a vote because we end up having to negotiate a collective bargaining agreement. But right now, we have no idea what the changes are. And it's not in writing, and it's not in front of us. That's all I'm saying.
This handout we just sent up there to you, just outlines what those positions are, what
I
the
see that.
requirements are by DEP standards.
I see that, and that's well, but it's not what I'm asking for.
I understand what you're asking for.
Thank you.
This is gonna be part of column B, if I understand correctly, Paul.
It would be, yes.
So we need column A matched up with
Yes,
column
I
B.
think. See, here's the problem. One of the things that we've run into in the past, and it's been this way in the 15 years, 16 years I've been a selectman, is that there were many times we don't know if there was a precedent set or if there was a vote taken at a Board of Selectmen's meeting, not because we can't find the minutes, but because the minutes are not clear. So when we're going to vote on something like this and it becomes part of the documents for the packet, there are a lot less questions for future boards to deal with. It's simple.
I don't think we were and I know we weren't asking for a vote tonight. What we're doing is trying to just give you some information, let you know this is coming down the
Good,
road.
wait. We know that. Wait and come in with chart A and B. And I think it'll be pretty quick. That's my opinion, but that and 70 cents will get your coffee somewhere.
Oh, wait, you get coffee. Okay.
What's the pleasure of the board? You want to continue?
Thank you for the information.
Yep, look forward to it.
Session, I believe.
And we'll get it done.
Do we have a
Well, you
time
need to get
frame?
it done.
Do we have a,
We'll get it done.
do you guys have a time frame on how, if you're not out of compliance with the license, but you're saying you're out of compliance with the title, is the town's certification or license in any kind of jeopardy?
No.
No.
So what
It's a
kind of,
matter of where the liability falls. If you don't have the titles for the operators through the regulations stating that they are responsible, they're gonna go up the ladder to, whether it be the commissioners or the selectmen, as to who's liable when something goes wrong.
It makes sense.
so what kind of time frame you folks looking at to get it together?
Well, we're trying to make sure that you're all aware that the changes need to be made in the titles, and then it would probably fall under, I mean, I don't see it happening and getting everything agreed upon before the deadline of this agreement.
Which is
anyway,
next year, right?
Which comes up in June of this
June of
coming
20.
year, so.
You don't foresee it being done by then?
I mean, I think that we need to get the titles that need to be put in here correctly with the job descriptions and what their responsibilities are. I think the responsibilities of a primary operator and a secondary operator exceed what the current positions are. So, in my opinion, I mean, you negotiate the contract agreements or the collective bargaining. We don't have that authority, so we're trying to get the information in there so you guys have the information when you go into bargaining.
Am I to understand that negotiations with your employees, your unionized employees,
Do not
that a
fall
member
to us.
of the sewer water commissioners does not participate in that?
Never been.
Correct.
If you look at the last page of the,
To be fair, Scott, you and I had this discussion a while ago.
Right.
When there was a sewer and a water superintendent, there was times that they chose to attend, and then at some point chose not to come anymore. And maybe a commissioner wasn't involved, but, I mean, you guys would, I would hope, better line of communication, you guys would have an implied voice at the table. I mean, your superintendents at one time, I know for a fact they both came in the past. So there was input of water sewer, maybe not at the commissioner level. And I believe the previous administrator dialogued with the previous, and I know both dialogued with the superintendents to get input, suggestions into the contract, and generally, we have never gotten,
I think
Put
we've
this in.
established a pretty good rapport between between George, and I've spoken with Mr. Sullivan. I've seen Mr. Zakowski often, I've spoken to Mr. Spall. I think there's a pretty open dialogue going forward, and it shouldn't be an issue.
Well,
That's why I think it's very important that we're on the same page going into possible
You know, even if we had
negotiations.
50 people sit in on those negotiations, the voting rights would still be retained solely by the Board of Selectmen.
correct.
But I'll tell you what, to negotiate a contract with Highway without the superintendent there, Water and Sewer without at least a commissioner there, it's comparable to flying blind.
I agree,
I'd love to have one of them there.
but we will. It's already done. Moving on,
Okay,
done.
okay.
Moving on, like, right now, you mean, like,
I mean, they'll
thanks for
definitely-
coming in, I'm moving on, like, keep going.
Like a kid trick-or-treating, you put a candy in
That's
there
it,
and
moving
moving on. Kid's still standing there.
Well, we got through 2 sentences. We look forward to more information.
All right, so you want a chart
Yeah.
with what we currently have?
I mean, I would coordinate with Jonathan, through the administrator's office.
We're gonna try to anticipate every question that could be asked. Everything from pay scale, everything from pay scale to justification for the reclassification, the whole nine.
Like a before and after in a little Reader's Digest version.
And it-
Then we'll be
and
good to go.
That's what I'd like. I don't know what anyone else
Thanks, you
would
guys.
like.
Think it's gonna be a thick Reader's Digest.
if we get till June, so we get plenty of time, it's better than getting it tonight, saying, here you go, read it now while we're
I
gonna
mean, we're not
discuss it.
reinventing the wheel. These positions exist elsewhere, correct?
Say like a little paragraph that's.
These positions exist elsewhere, so
I mean, yeah, we're
Like-
not reinventing the
we're not
wheel.
reinventing the wheel here, right?
No, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And if, like I said, if it's strictly a
required to be
compliance
everywhere.
issue because of language, it should be an easy fix.
I agree.
Because as you said, and for people at home, I know you mentioned Flint, we don't have a Flint, Michigan crisis here. We
Correct.
have a titling issue, not a license.
We want to avoid those issues.
Right, we don't have a licensing issue, we have a titling issue.
But as I was starting to say before, we have 3 employees in the water department. One of them is a laborer. If one of those 2 licensed people moves on to go somewhere else, we don't have enough people to cover. And to bring, the way we currently do things, to bring someone in and take the 2 years or so, to 2 to 3 years to train them, we can't do that anymore. We just can't, and meet DEP standards and guidelines, we can't do it that way anymore. That's all we're trying to say, and we're trying to just pass the information on that we're looking to bring our standards up, bring our job descriptions, our job titling, and everything up to the level that the state wants us to be at.
So what do you have, Brian, George, and Luke right now, that's it?
Yeah, Luke is still in training, Brian's just coming out of training, so he's still got a little ways in training to go. I'm the only full operator that's licensed for the town. They can run under my license, and Luke, Timmy in the sewer is also
Still has his.
licensed, he still has it, so they do work with us all the time. So they're actually working under our licenses or with us all the time, working with what we do, which is a big thing. That makes their jobs even more dealing.
And I know in the past, and haven't you had to use your consulting engineer's license before to cover gaps in coverage? In the
That-
Did you ever have to use your consulting engineer's license? Was there ever an issue with it?
There may have been a period of time when a license had lapsed and we had to go through. There were,
All right,
not in public.
we're not gonna reinvent the
I'm not
wheel
gonna,
backwards. All right, we look
not
forward to more
dealing with
information.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So we doing the superintendent thing now, or is that informational? That's informational? All right, thank you. 11B, Town Administrator.
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna save some time because he's already explained it. And I'm gonna move that we vote to place debt exclusions for HVAC, the roof project, and the
No,
LED
no.
streetlight. No?
I'm gonna ask that you give me the opportunity to try to, well, I think we can pay for that separately without having.
What, the LED?
The LED, just,
Okay, then the HVAC and the roof project onto the spring 2020 town election.
Do we have a dollar figure, Jonathan, for that? Ballpark even? Do we need a let me phrase that. Do we need a dollar figure?
do we, no, let's, because we may be able to make it less by the time it's
Okay.
voted on, so let's not assign a dollar.
Motion made to place as a debt exclusion question for the HVAC and roof project on the spring town warrant, town ballot. Right?
HVAC and the roof, but
On the
not
sp-
the LED
Right,
conversion.
on the spring
Spring
ballot.
2020
Ballot.
town election ballot, as
Right.
requested.
Motion made.
Can we go back to
We have a
not
second?
needing a number?
We have a second for discussion? Second for discussion?
Second for discussion.
Second for discussion,
Not
Mr.
to exceed
Sigenovich.
$450,000, will that,
Not to exceed
that way I can't be
450,000.
sneaky and put $1 million question on there.
I just, yeah, just give me, what was the ballpark figure?
The ballpark is $450.
All right, money we've already spent.
Money's already been borrowed.
Money
we
we've
need to
already
put it
borrowed.
back.
Thank you.
Everybody good? Oh, Carrie.
But question, now, money that's already borrowed, but how does this, saying yes to this, how does this affect our taxes? How does this affect everyone's taxes? It won't affect it at all? It will affect it some, it will affect it a lot? The reason why I'm asking is because out of everything going on in town, the one thing I've heard the most about is people's tax bills. And I
Mr.
just,
Chairman, I'm gonna
I just,
remove my, I'm gonna withdraw my motion.
I just want,
No, you're right.
I just want to have the facts for the people so they can make up their mind.
You're both right. Jay, we need to have an amount, ballpark not to exceed, but more importantly, we need to have wording that will, and we need to get legal counsel on this,
We already did. Here's the
to
word.
rescind,
This is legal counsel.
do we have a copy of that?
Sure you should have.
Oh.
Do we want to rescind the borrowing and
Oh, we've
replace
already-
it, or we want to replace it with debt exclusion?
Can't rescind the borrowing.
No,
The
we've
debt
already
exclusion's
borrowed
gonna
it. We
pay off
borrowed
that
the
amount.
money.
How do you word it?
You word it just like this. Shall the town of Dudley be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Prop 2.5, so-called, the amounts required to pay for the bond issued in order to extraordinary repairs to the Dudley Municipal Center and any design incidental cost, expenses related thereto, including replacing the roof and repairs to the building's heating, ventilation, air conditioning system approved by the May 21st, 2018 annual town meeting, and provided further, the said question shall be deemed approved if the majority of person voting shall vote yes.
So the bond issue, Mr. Chairman, is only the amount that was borrowed for those projects specified.
Right.
It's not a penny more than that, or it could be less, but it's,
Yeah, that is,
but it's the
never mind.
amount borrowed.
Right,
It's not a
and-
penny less, more.
As John, and as we talked at the beginning of the meeting, we definitely want more information, because right now we're paying interest only, but starting next year, we're gonna get hit with 1/3 principal, right? 30%.
Starting next year, we're going to have to pay 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3.
Right now, we're currently just paying interest.
So is it, that's a big bite, wow. So is it your intent that someone make a motion, that we pass a motion that follows that language explicitly?
Yes.
Okay.
That language we'll place it on the ballot in the spring, and the amount that will be borrowed will be specified when we set the tax rate. And that amount can actually be figured, so you can say, it adds 2 cents to my tax bill, it adds 3 cents
Okay.
to my tax bill. I can't figure that right now, because
We don't know,
it's a crystal ball.
right? It's a moving number.
However, I will say that between now and 2023, our 23 budget, we're gonna be retiring over $577,000 in debt. So, we're well within the range that, and I believe there's another line item that's gonna be retired too, but we're well within the range of not skyrocketing tax bills.
Well, in theory, we'll get the numbers from the treasurer through you. We will be retiring debt that exceeds the debt excluded amount, because, as you said, we ballparked it at about 450, so if we're retiring 575,
That having been said, I'm certain that there's at least one article on the fall warrant for a debt excluded, that was passed over in the spring, for a debt excluded piece of equipment. Just so you know,
right, there's
going
other
forward,
things.
that
Mr. Chairman, would you please reread the motion that you, as chair, would accept?
Chair will accept a motion titled, "Question, shall the town of Dudley be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Proposition 2 1/2, so-called, the amounts required to pay for the bond issued in order to extraordinary repairs to the Dudley Municipal Center and any design incidental costs and expenses related thereto, including replacing the roof and repairs to the building's heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems that were approved by the May 21st, 2018 annual town meeting, and provided further that said question will be deemed approved if a majority of the persons voting shall vote yes."
So moved.
Motion made. Is there a second? Second by the chair. Any further questions or concerns?
Mr. Chairman, in fiscal year 2020, we'll be retiring between the $45,000 on the police cruiser and the Dudley Charlton capital assessment, $622,777, fiscal year 2020,
So before I call to a vote,
this year.
I would like to ask if the board would consider waiting to have a full board present in the possible face of a deadlock.
All right, Mr. Chairman, then, we did get a second on the motion,
Yes.
and I'm gonna move to table that motion.
To a full,
Motion to table, it gets no discussion.
right up to the next
It's a
meeting.
thumbs up or thumbs down.
Can we table it with the condition to a full board? Because if one of us doesn't make the, you know what I
Table
mean?
it. Hopefully John will be back. If not, we'll table it again.
Mr. Chairman, what kind of information would you like me to provide at the next meeting? So that we can execute this vote?
If anybody has any concerns, Jay?
I don't think we need to do that. I think you have buildings, you build buildings, you have to maintain them. Don't be in the business of government if you're not going to maintain your buildings.
Are you asking to have it tabled so John can be here?
I would, without doing, I'm not a big fan of straw poll, wink, wink, you know. I'd prefer we have an odd number so we don't deadlock like last time,
That's true.
in the face of a possible deadlock.
Well, you can find that out by asking for a straw poll.
I'm not a big fan of straw polls.
Okay, well, to give an indication.
I don't think you're gonna get a deadlock.
Well, in the absence,
Then I withdraw my motion to table.
Chair will call to a vote. All in favor, state aye. Aye.
All right.
Opposed?
Present.
301. Moving on. Do we need to sign this?
No, this one.
Yeah, this one.
This next piece of, it's just FYI, right? The last document.
What is the last?
That's not for discussion.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Which one was it, Mr. Chairman? We don't have it on the...
There's nothing, it's just, it looks like it says FYI on it, so I
Yeah,
just
okay.
assume it's.
All right, then that's what it is.
Board member comments. Mr. Joseph.
I'll wait, because I'm trying to remember a date.
Mr. Johnson. Board member comments.
Oh, jeez.
Let's see,
Not for discussion.
unfortunately, the Boy Scout yard sale was canceled to Triple E. Hopefully we'll get a good frost in and nighttime activities can resume. There are other fundraisers available. I know if you see a some good-looking scouts walking around selling wreaths, and made some pancake breakfast tickets if you're so inclined. It's a good fundraiser for them.
Mr. Sigenovich.
I want to talk for a second about Al, our new student representative. He really impressed me. He showed up to meetings when he didn't have to be here. The kid took notes. Wow. I don't think I took that many notes in high school, never mind.
Sure you didn't.
Well, thanks. But you even came before us with some bike trail, and you had you had everything ready. It's something you wanted, you took ownership, you had a plan, you executed it, done. So, just want to say it's happy to have you.
Thank you, I'm happy to be here.
That's all I got.
Mr. Chairman, we forgot to add student report to the agenda, so if he has one.
Well, I just want to say too, I usually do it at the beginning and I missed it, and I am eternally embarrassed. I would like to note with great sadness, passing of Leona LaFountain.
Yep.
Dispatch Center is named after her. Longest-term town employee in the history of the town of Dudley.
43 years.
To know Leona was to be a friend of Leona. She was more, Chief would know better than most, more than just a town employee dispatcher. She was a mama bear figure down there, and I don't think a day went by where someone didn't go in to talk to Leona with a problem, and I apologize deeply. We should have brought that up at the beginning of the meeting. And I know I speak for the entire board and for the town when we send out our sympathies to the family of Leona LaFountain. That's all I got.
October 5th, Saturday, Apple Festival. Probably going to be one of the most interesting apple festivals we've ever had. In addition to the Grange, there is the partnership with the Black Tavern and the Agricultural Commission. And we all will be sharing the top of the hill on that Saturday. The Black Tavern Society will be having the annual craft fair, which last I heard was over 40 crafters that'll not only be on Black Tavern property, it'll also be on part of the town common. The Agricultural Commission will be sharing the common with the crafters and with artisans from Old Sturbridge Village. And we have already received positive responses from Dudley farmers and hobbyists. And they will be offering, in addition to 100% grass-fed beef, milk, eggs, as you know, designer cheeses, which are phenomenal. We will also be having the two folks that own the hemp farm in Dudley. They will be there, and all these people will be there, if reasonable, to offer products in addition to provide education and answer questions. We will have Ellen LaPrise, who is the daylily lady, or the lily lady. She has incredible flowers and crossbreeds that she's been working on. And Paul Benenda, who used to work for Zamis, wholesale florist out of Worcester, now has his own company, which is Benenda Florist, and they are a wholesaler, and they will be there with a variety of floral projects. Not wreaths or anything, we're talking strictly flowers. But it's a chance to make up if you forgot to get flowers on a day you should have recently. All right, so, and there's more people who are gonna be there. Honey people will be there, honey. So it's gonna be an interesting day, and we hope everybody will come. I think it's probably from around 9 o'clock or so until whenever it peters out. So please come and participate. Something to be proud of. Oh, that's the other date. Tomorrow night, Board of Health. Hearing on foul regulations. That's FOWL, better known as the chicken issue. And what time is that at, Michelle? 6:30, I think? Right, and it'll be in this big room. Expect a good crowd, or at least a crowd. Thank you.
Excellent. Student rep report. He's on the ball. He's got something.
Don't worry. So,
Don't worry.
things are picking up in school, trying to get back into the routine of things. We had a successful fire drill and lockdown drill a few weeks ago. We had the first honors dinner on September 19th at 6:30. Things went really well. A lot of smart kids there. They are absolutely ridiculous at academics. It's insane. On September 28th, there's a homecoming day and dance at the football game and band performance and whole 9 yards. October 12th is the home band festival at 1 p.m. and I would like to cordially invite you, to all of you,
I thought he gave it to you.
for
You're the chair.
That don't mean nothing.
all of you, to go. My mother runs the whole thing, so she's good.
Family plug.
Yeah, so she has all the tickets and whatnot, and it's a fun night.
Is that outdoors?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the cost of admission?
Is it free?
It's free?
For you guys, it's $8 for public, $5 for free.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because last year, we didn't get a whole lot of invitations to musical events, you know, at Shepherd Hill.
Yeah.
And some of us like that,
We like invitations to the graduation, too.
yeah. For some of us, it's therapy, right?
Okay. Yeah, we got a really good show this year. I think you guys will really enjoy it if you end up going. Cross country met at Attleboro last weekend. They did pretty well, so that's good for them. Football was at Algonquin. Shepherd Hill won 41-38. Nathaniel Cooper scored multiple times.
4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns, correct. The band placed first in Mendon with a score of 75.3. And we took all caption awards, which was best music, best visual, and best percussion. Sadly though, Triple E is really screwing everybody up with practices, and it's just
Events.
it's tough. It really is tough, and that's pretty much the big hullabaloo up.
This is one case where a lot of people are praying for an early first frost.
Yeah, it's
Safety first.
yeah, a lot of fun events had to be pushed to different times or what have you. So
Right.
we're trying to get around it the best we can. And I also did have a question: is the fall warrant available at the library for the meeting, for town meeting? I didn't see it.
We haven't voted to approve it yet, right?
I don't think we have.
When it's...
We haven't voted to approve it yet. Yeah, close
It's,
the
it needs to be posted a week before
Oh, okay.
town meeting, so it won't be up, and it's still a work in progress, so it'll be a little bit.
So it'll be on the town website.
It'll be posted here.
Sign it.
Okay.
Okay.
And again, I just want to emphasize what Al passed over to us. It's the Saturday, October 12th at 1 p.m. at Carmignani Field, Shepherd Hill Regional High School, for the annual marching band home show competition. And my daughter used to do color guard, and there's nothing like being in the gym with the percussion. Outside's pretty cool, but being in the gym, there's nothing like being in the gym with the percussion. So all who could attend, $8. The proceeds, net proceeds, go to the Shepherd Hill Music Association.
They do a really great job.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
no doubt.
That's
Well-
about it for me.
Any questions for our student rep? You guys gonna slide the first night? You called him stupid before.
Through the chair and to the fire chief. Was I supposed to contact Shepherd Hill about the grand opening, or were you, in terms of musical entertainment? All right. I wanted to stay in my lane, Brock.
We can put this on the website too to help them, right? On the Twitter, the website, October 12th.
Yeah,
Pass
Is there a
it
grand
Maybe
opening
the
for the
sign.
fire department?
there
on.
is.
Yes, November, October 19th.
10 a.m. to 2 p.m., but no one's invited to stay for all 4 hours.
Well, the guys on duty are. Guys that are working will be staying, I hope.
So Al, we're expecting you to drum up some interest in town politics at the high school,
Of course,
so,
of course.
as always. Thank you.
Spread the word.
Spread the word. Department head, highway, fire and EMS and beaches. Police.
Seeing nobody,
I've been called worse, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excuse me. Just appreciate you recognizing Leona. Yeah, she did pass away last week. She worked here from March 1st, 1967 until July of 2010, so she was here over 43 years. Served under, I believe it was 6 police chiefs. I don't know how many police officers, and but really was a great lady. And the remarkable thing always with her was how she evolved through the training and through the equipment and changes and everything that took place over all those 43 plus years. To go from basically having a telephone that rang into the chief's house, and they would have the blue light down in the corner, and phone calls would be made down there, and guys would pick it up and go on their way. To everything with enhanced 911 and cameras, computers, everything else that we had to do. She just rolled with it. So she's a remarkable lady. So they'll be laying her to rest tomorrow morning.
Chief,
Yes.
have you thought about maybe getting a nice cast iron bench put outside the entrance to the police department in her name?
I haven't thought of it, but I'll take any good ideas. Because I know it was nice when we dedicated the Senate to her, because it was one of those things that to honor the people, because they're often forgotten. They're kind of sitting back in the office, just kind of coordinating things, but they're really the ones that are the lifeblood of a lot of this operation. So, secondly, I'll welcome Al along to the meeting, because I know he's going to keep you and the rest of us on our toes for the whole time. And last is we got word on the next drug take-back is October 26th. That's a Saturday, last Saturday in October, from 9 to 1. So I'm working also on having Hubbard again bring us some needle disposal boxes and get rid of all that. We'll do it 9 to 1, so anybody that has prescription medications or anything they want to get rid of, they can bring them down and get them done at that time. We do have the box downstairs, so certainly anybody that has any that wants to get rid of them, we can leave them down in the kiosk. But otherwise, that'll be the day we'll collect them. So Saturday the 26th from 9A to 1P.
Chief, without naming establishments, I see you put out a little thing about another false ID, underage person tried to use in town, and I think it's just anybody paying attention at home that knows a permittee or is a permittee. They're out there, they're sophisticated, and we certainly showed some discretion recently for someone, but there's not always a guarantee. So if you're in charge of an establishment, you've got to be 100% certain
And that's the second one, is it?
in the last, like, month and a half.
Last-
less
I
than-
think we've had 3 or something in the
Yeah.
last month and last month or so.
I'm just saying, we showed some discretion, but that doesn't mean that the board always has to.
Yeah, it is one of those things where they are getting very sophisticated as computer technology and everything is more enhanced. A lot of the information that's on there is for that particular individual, so that's why you can throw people off in some way. But yeah, the establishments are diligent on it, and we're spreading the word, and we're not gonna put up with it. So
Thanks, Chief.
great, thank you.
Water sewer? Administrative assistant? Good? John, good?
I'm good, thank you.
Public, anybody? Last chance, speak now, forever hold your peace for 2 weeks. Motion to adjourn, no exec tonight, right?
There is an exec on, but I think there's no need for it.
Think
No.
what?
Or there's no need for it, we can,
All right,
It was
shut
on,
it
but we don't
down.
need it.
I'm one to ponder that carefully. Mr. Chairman, I move we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, everyone. Be safe.